Men can't breastfeed. You'd think that'd be a pretty uncontroversial statement, right? Well, apparently not in 2023. Last week, Reduxx published a report about how not one, but two women in Australia were given notices from Twitter informing them that they had broken the law in their country for tweets they had made. What were the alleged posts, you might ask? A series of tweets about a trans-identified male who had been breastfeeding a baby. Jasmine Sussex, a veteran advocate for breastfeeding mothers, and Leah Whiston, who operates the Standing for Women Queensland Twitter account, were both contacted by Twitter on May 16th via email. The series of emails began with Twitter informing the two women that they had received official correspondence from a law enforcement or government agency and that their content was being investigated. Shortly after, they were told certain tweets they had made would be withheld in Australia as they violated the law. Between the two women, 11 of their tweets were censored, all of which referred to a transgender Australian who understandably sparked backlash last year after publicly declaring he had induced lactation and was able to breastfeed his biological son. A male, breastfeeding a baby. You'd think most people would agree that's insane, right? Well, apparently not. In fact, Jasmine Sussex, one of the women who was told she'd broken the law, had previously run afoul of the male breastfeeding mafia and actually faced severe professional repercussions for it. Jasmine had worked with breastfeeding mothers for almost 2 decades, but in 2021, she was fired from her position as a breastfeeding counselor with the Australian Breastfeeding Association after she criticized the adoption of gender-neutral language in breastfeeding care. She was later removed from membership with the association, which is supposed to provide ethical care and safeguards to mothers and babies. Which begs the question, why would a breastfeeding association take issue with a woman acknowledging that only women can breastfeed? Well, according to one of the illegal Twitter threads posted by Standing for Women Queensland on May 12th, the Australian Breastfeeding Association had received $20,000 from an LGBT lobby group to write an educational booklet about, you guessed it, chest feeding. You always gotta follow the money in these instances, huh? Although the notices issued by Twitter to the ladies did not explicitly say which arm of the government demanded the censorship, Jasmine suspects it was the same eSafety commissioner that came for Reduxx just last month for calling trans-identified male YouTuber Riley Dennis a male. It's bad enough that women are being silenced for calling out men in our sports and spaces, but now we have to deal with law enforcement and censorship notices for criticizing some creepy man with an obvious sexual fetish. Oh, speaking of creepy men with obvious sexual fetishes, as if it weren't enough that there was one really gross dude out there trying to get babies to suck on his nipples, another miraculously emerged from the cesspit of social media this week. Just shortly after the Australian government censored 2 women for talking about a trans-identified male breastfeeding a baby, yet another trans-identified male went viral for the exact same reason. A popular transgender influencer named Naomi announced that he and his transgender male partner were adopting a baby and that he had induced his own lactation for the purposes of breastfeeding his child. Disturbingly, but somehow completely unsurprisingly, Naomi does a lot of porn. And now he's doing porn featuring a cow theme and posting pictures of the baby on his explicitly 18+ Twitter account. Cool. Normal. Can someone call CPS, please? As Jasmine Sussex told Reduxx last week, men attempting to breastfeed babies is both biologically and psychologically dangerous for all involved. Here's another really important bit of wisdom from Jasmine. There is no evidence that drug-induced secretions from a male nipple are in any way equivalent to a mother's milk. It is more likely that the secretions are akin to galactorrhea, which occurs when abnormal levels of prolactin are released from the pituitary gland in females who aren't pregnant or males with disease. Not gonna lie, I can't help but feel very bad and very disgusted for these babies. They're being used like props in some sick validation performance, and it seems like their health and safety isn't considered as high a priority as these sick men's feelings. At least, certainly not to the Australian government, which apparently thinks it's illegal to even do so much as criticize these men. As ridiculous as it is that Jasmine and Leah were censored by their own government for talking about this issue, both of them have said they aren't going to shut up anytime soon. And that's exactly the spirit I like to see. Sunshine is the best disinfectant after all. Speaking of disinfectant, after all this talk about male lactating nipples, I think I'm going to go bathe in some.